Good evening and welcome to Sctv, Simpson College's first student-run weekly newscast. I'm Jake Brend.
And I'm Cassie Nash. It's great to be here.
It's awesome to have you here, Cassie. One wildly successful Simpson team took a trip down to the Sunshine State and came away with a boatload of hardware.
The Simpson speech and debate team captured its first Pi Kappa Delta speech and debate overall team championship while earning its fifth national debate team championship in the last 6 years. The tournament was held at the University of Central Florida in Orlando between March 9th and 12th, and 70 colleges and universities of all sizes competed for the top spot.
For debate, Danielle Blake and Drake Wood were national champions in varsity public forum debate, and Tegan Townsend won varsity Lincoln Douglas debate, while Ryan Mogley-Hines won the Novus Lincoln Douglas debate tournament.
On the speech side, Mo Marks was national champion and after dinner speaking, Ryan Cochran was national runner-up in impromptu speaking, and our own Ethan Humble was national runner-up in broadcast journalism.
Elise Sturgeon, Kyle Dupnick, and Faithiana Leonard all won the Pi Kappa Delta All-American Award as well. These top performances were accompanied by many other individual awards despite the team's 23-hour bus ride just to get to the tournament site. The team is led by coaches Spencer Waugh, Marisa Mayo, and Eduardo Mogley-Hines.
Something tells me this won't be the last time we'll be praising the speech and debate team.
With the winning culture they've established, it's hard to argue with you there.
Last week, the COVID management team announced that masks will no longer be required in classrooms, meaning that masks aren't required at any spot on campus.
The restrictions were loosened last Monday and have been in effect ever since. SCTV's Megan Flynn has the reactions from the student body.
Last week, the Simpson College Faculty Liaison Committee came to a unanimous decision to drop mask requirements in the classroom. Where signs of mask requirements or recommendations used to be, there is now just tape. I spoke to a few people on campus to get their thoughts.
Honestly speaking, I personally believe to each their own. I mean, it's a really bad way to think about it, but I'm like, we've been at this long enough to where if you don't have the vaccination, that's kind of your problem at this point. Not to take away from the fact, like, hey, some people can't get it.
It brings classrooms in line with the move that we made a few weeks ago now to move from masks being recommended to mask use being optional. And the reason that, one of the primary reasons that we held off on making that change in classrooms back when we did that in other areas of campus was knowing attending class is the one thing that isn't optional for people. So you can decide whether you go to other events and how much time you spend, but where classes are concerned, everybody needs to be there, and they're there for prolonged periods of time. So we've been more cautious about relaxing the classroom protocols.
When I heard it, I was kind of scared, honestly. COVID scares me quite a bit. I've already had it twice, and I'm chronically ill, so it's not been very good for my health. So just the thought of going maskless in class, it was pretty scary, just because, I have to be in class and I can't really choose not to be. So it was pretty scary.
If the college wants to drop its restriction by any means, I mean, the teachers can still put it in the syllabus, so.
Almost every professor probably has like a disabled or chronically ill or immunocompromised student in at least one of their classes, and I know that a lot of students don't necessarily disclose that, so I think it would be better if faculty and staff had to mask.
Despite the new decision, testing will still be available on campus.
We're just moving the location, so no longer a need to have a separate testing facility, but we are continuing to do free testing on campus. It's just moved up here to the Normal Health Services Clinic.
Reporting for SCTV, I'm Morgan Flynn.
For the last 3 seasons, Simpson Baseball's Brady Held has quietly been one of the best athletes on campus. This year, he hasn't done it quietly.
Held has put together one of the best seasons of school history and is drawing attention from MLB scouts. Jake has the story.
There's no one in the American Rivers Conference like Brady Held. The senior ranks second in the conference in batting average and third in ERA. He's the only player that's ranked in the top 15 in both.
He's the best competitor that I've coached.
This year alone, Held has a school record 18 strikeouts in a win against Beloit and a 16 strikeout, 2 home run showcase in a 2-1 win over Nebraska Wesleyan.
I'm just doing whatever I can to help the team win, and that's always what it is.
When he's on the mound for us, we feel that we're pretty invincible. With him up there, he's going to give a great effort and a great opportunity to win each and every time. We're going to be in it, and from an offensive perspective, we know we just probably have to score a few runs in the games that he's at, and that gives us a lot of confidence as well.
Coming out of Indianola High School, Held had one walk-on offer to a D2 school, so he decided to stay home. 4 years later, Held has gone from little interest out of high school to catching the eye of MLB scouts.
I went up to Michigan to play for the Battle Creek Bombers this summer, and I think that was huge because I played against a bunch of D1 guys and a bunch of upper college guys that were really good and really talented. So I think that was huge to just get the experience.
Brady came in as a really good ball player, but what I've seen, probably more than any other guy that I've coached, is the consistency of improvement and the wantingness to improve. Complacency is not a word in that he ever thinks of.
I went up to a showcase up at Gustavus Adolphus, and there was a couple scouts there, and I talked to a White Sox scout actually after the game, and he said he'd stop by maybe for a couple games. So you never know. Nothing's guaranteed, but I mean, it was just great to have that opportunity.
This season, Held has entered the record books with the single-game strikeout record and now the career strikeout record with 199, still counting. His historic season has garnered national attention on social media.
My goal is just to play baseball and continue playing baseball, and just the thought of that is just surreal to me and still is. I appreciate everything and all the tweets and the love that I've been getting, and I really, truly do.
I'm not a huge social media guy. I don't think I've logged into my Twitter account in a few years. So I get access to our team account, and I see some of the stuff that's going on. And it's cool. I know the guys like it, and I know that the baseball community enjoys it. And yeah, it brings attention to our program.
Without a concrete plan for after graduation, Held plans on playing professionally.
This summer I'm going to play with the Waterloo Bucks, and then from there it'll be try to get a pro contract depending what happens and stuff like that. But as of now, it's still open.
No matter where he plays next year, he's already left an impact on Storm baseball.
Seeing Brady grow as a person, along with as a ball player, has been probably one of the most rewarding things that I've had since being here at Simpson. And for him, he's injected energy into our program beyond the results that we see on Twitter and the strikeout totals and the home runs and all that. Who he is on a day-to-day basis, the passion, the energy, his infectious personality, that's the stuff that I'll always remember beyond the records that he'll set here as well too.
For Sctv, Jake Brent.
The same baseball team got off to a hot start in Florida, but has cooled off coming back north. They were in action on Saturday, looking to get back on track.
Home opener at McBride Field against Cornell. Top one, Ryan Ryder lines one to right field, but Brady Held is right there. Bottom one. Storm down two. Luke Willis grounds into a fielder's choice, but Ty Cali comes in to score, still down 2-1. Runner on second for Matthew Marquez, and he smokes one to center field, and it gets all the way back to the fence. Brennan Lemke comes around to scores. Kez is fired up. Simpson down 6-4 now in the bottom of the seventh. Pitch goes wild, and Keaton DeCock crosses the plate to score. We go to the eighth. Brady Held, the star, is up at the plate, puts one up the middle. That's a single to center field. Chris Miller scores. Simpson eventually ties the game to go into extras. In the 10th, down two, Sam Porter singles, bringing the game within one, but that's the closest they get. Simpson drops this one 9-8 in 10 innings. The transfer portal has changed college athletics forever. That's unarguable. But is it good or bad? That's the trick question. Transfers have been around college athletics forever, but it's always been a requirement that those transfers lose a year of eligibility when leaving schools. Last April, the NCAA changed the rule to where athletes can leave a school once without having to sit out at all. With the one-year anniversary of the rule change, it feels like an appropriate time to evaluate the decision. There's been a lot of good. Look at Iowa State, a team that went 2-22 last year. They picked up nearly a whole team of new transfers, and they made the Sweet 16, the biggest single-season turnaround in college basketball history. But for every Iowa State, there's a Joseph Yesufu, Drake's star player from last year, that transferred to the powerhouse Kansas. He won a national title, but his scoring went down 10 points per game. Drake had a big fish in a little pond, but now Drake was left without their star. Cinderella of the tournament, St. Peter's star mustache man Doug Eater, just announced that he's transferring after an incredible tournament. Will he follow his coach to Seton Hall or go to a bigger pond? Either way, he's taking advantage of the publicity to go make more money off of his brand. Overall, this is undeniably more fair for the athletes. If a coach can leave a job whenever he wants for more money, leaving players behind that he recruited, then the athlete should be able to also. It's also brought great stories. Iowa State, for example, and then Brady Manick going from underappreciated star at Oklahoma to the best player on North Carolina in the national championship. But it's also backfired for teams and players. Yesufu didn't get the playing time he expected, and Drake lost one of their best players ever. Neither party benefited. Some players who could have been great 4-year players at a program leave after times get tough and will never know what they could have been. But the biggest issue? The numbers. In basketball alone, there have been over 1,500 transfers in the portal in the last year. That's a lot of turnover for rosters. Fans aren't able to get connected with these players, and the players clearly aren't building connections where they're at. 4-year guys are what make college athletics great, and there's been a lack of them recently. So the transfer portal is fair, but it's chaotic and needs some tweaking in the future, or else it could get even more out of hand. I'm Jake Brend, and that's my take. And now, let's look at some scores at Simpson from the past week.
Men and women's track and field ran in Waverly to open up outdoor season, both coming in ninth. Softball split a doubleheader against Pella, knocking off the Dutch in Game 2. Baseball played a 3-game stand against the Rams of Cornell, losing the first 2, but winning the final game of the weekend.
Simpson's softball lost 2 close ones to the Dewhawks of Loris 3-2 and 4-3, while men's golf went down to Kansas City and had a tough weekend. Men's tennis and women's tennis both played Northwestern St. Paul from Minnesota yesterday at Lifetime Athletic. The women lost 6-3 and the men lost 9-0. Anna Wanek, though, had a good day in singles and doubles. And that's going to be all for Sctv this week.
Next week, we will be back with a recap of Campus Day, and we will catch up with the national champion shooting sports team.
It was fun sharing the news with you this week, but as always, you stay classy, Simpson.